Hello and welcome to Film Slam Stream's post-film conversation for Superman Doesn't Steal. My name is Eric Siler, and I'm an instructor of film, media arts, and communications, as well as moderator for this conversation. We are very pleased to be joined by the director of Superman Doesn't Steal, Tamika Lamison. Tamika is a Virginia native who attended the American University and Howard University, and she has a BA in Performing Arts and Theater while continuing her studies at the New York Film Academy. She has worked at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, helping to research and develop the Academy Gold Program, and currently works as an executive director of the Commercial Directors Diversity Program. Tamika, hello and welcome.
Hi, so nice to be here. Good to see you again.
Oh,
Um, our second panel together.
Exactly. So, Tamika, it was wonderful having you here in Cleveland for the Cleveland International Film Festival and for being on a panel with the Cleveland State University's Film School. And it's great to have you here as part of Film Slam Streams. And our students who are watching this saw the film and they're looking at it and intrigued by the title, Superman Doesn't Steal. So, what came up first? I know this is a little based partially on a true story. So just tell us how this developed from your childhood till now that this film has come out. How did this come about?
Well, the titles definitely did not come first. This happened a long time ago. It's a story, a true story, that happened to my brother and I when we were kids living in the South. And it was set during the Atlanta child murders when there was a guy going around murdering Black children. And all of the families in America, all the Black families in America, were feeling somewhat terrorized and feeling like they couldn't let their kids, out to play because, they could get snatched or killed or something like that. And so it's that's kind of where it was set. And yeah, and it always sort of haunted my brother and I and my family, and especially how it impacted and the things that transpired during that time when he, basically disobeyed them and walked through the woods and and all of that and all the things that followed. So yeah, it just really traumatized us, and I always wanted to create this story and put it on the film. And so once I wrote the story, my brother's a real harsh critic. I knew he would tell me the truth, so I sent it to him. He read it and he called me. He was crying. He said, this is, you really captured this what happened, and you really have to do it. So once I got the green light from him, I knew it was we had to do it.
Uh, your father, is he still with us? And
Yes.
what
Yes.
did you have to get the green light from him too? Because the way he was portrayed in the film.
Well, actually, my parents did not know what we were doing. I mean, they know we work in the industry and do this and that. And so I didn't, because we were on location, I brought my brother, he was in Virginia. Was he in Virginia at the time or New York? Maybe I can't remember, but I had to fly him to Georgia and I flew to Georgia, and they were like, "Well, what are you guys doing?" And your brother said, it's something based on your childhood. And they were thinking, what could they possibly be, filming that's anybody that would want to see that's based on something that happened during their childhood. So I saw the wheels sort of turning in their mind. So they didn't know what we were shooting. And until after it was all done. And then my brother and I debated whether or not I was like, well, we have to tell them. We can't just have them sitting in an audience with people and see our true story with them being portrayed on screen. And it's controversial. And he was like, no, just let them. I was like, they're in their 70s. We're not doing that. So we told them, but I don't think they really understood that it was really exactly that story being depicted until they were sitting in the audience watching. And so that was quite an experience having them sit there, kind of experience it with other family members, actually, some of whom were there when it happened and didn't realize what they were going to see either. And so But it was good. It was like a cathartic moment for all of us. It was very kind of healing and you know, people got to ask questions and really understand different perspectives. So I thought ultimately it was really it was a good thing. But it was a little dicey there going for a moment.
So what was your father's response to the film when he saw it?
He um well, on just a level of enjoying the movie, he did enjoy the movie, and he he was very quiet at first, and I could tell that he was impacted by it. I think that he was trying to process how it had affected my brother and how it affected me, and I think that was mostly what it how he, kind of was absorbing it, because I don't think you never really know because you don't see all of the ways that something is impacting someone because you're not, you're just seeing it from your perspective or experiencing it from your perspective, but I think he finally understood how my brother was impacted, and I think he had to sit with that a minute. But I think ultimately, he also understood that maybe he might have made a different decision if he had known then how it would impact my brother. But you never know, right? You do the best that you can in the moment, right?
Exactly. Interesting. Wow. A lot of dynamics going on there.
Yeah.
I had to ask, what was your mother's response? And did she say to you, you portrayed your mother in the film? She says, do I really act like that? Do I tell like that? Tell me what your mother said after she saw the film.
So she actually said that she was feeling like it was she was experiencing everything all over again as if it had just happened. So it took her longer to process it and to start because some of the questions that people knew she was in the audience, so some of the questions that people were asking were coming directly to her, and she said, actually, I need a moment to process it because it's really emotional for me to see it because it's depicted. It's just bringing me right back to that moment, and I need a moment to process it. So after she took a moment to really process it in that moment, she said, she felt that she did feel like I did a good had asked her that. I said, did you think I did a good job portraying you? She said, yeah, yeah, you did a good job. You did a good job portraying me. Yeah, and then she just said she was really emotional. I don't know that she could put into words all of the nuances of what she was feeling other than it was really emotional for her and she was kind of in tears.
So, well, when you and your brother created this film, what did you want people to get out of it? The larger audience who doesn't know your family.
Mm. Uh, I think I definitely wanted people to um understand to a certain degree that when it comes to Black kids and Black families, um, we don't really, especially Black, we don't really get the opportunity to make the same kind of mistakes that other people make because it can cost us our lives. And so the sad part is, my brother made a choice, made a mistake, the kind of mistake that maybe kind of kids do stuff, right? And the idea is that we all can do things, make a mistake, and it can be corrected. We can be forgiven and we can move on and all of that kind of stuff. But with Black kids, if they make certain kinds of mistakes, it can be fatal. And so I did want people to sort of understand that because I think that is the dynamic that was really playing out. Why the father did what he did, corporal punishment, all of that. I did want a discussion. I was hoping people would think about corporal punishment as well in a different way. I mean, I know it's not as popular as it was back in the 70s. In the 70s, it wasn't a big deal. But now there's a lot of, people think differently. A lot of people think differently about it. But I did want people to think about that. And I also wanted people to just see that, this is just you know, to see just regular Black families depicted having a wonderful, you know, family gathering and how, small things can really affect a family's dynamic in such incredible ways.
And the fact that you and your brother made this film so many years later, because it actually stuck with you. The actions of your father, did it have a positive impact? Did your brother um uh keep the same behavior, or did he change his behavior and never did anything like that again?
Well, I think he definitely changed his behavior because, b- uh, but I don't know if he did anything like that again. I'm not aware of him doing
Okay,
anything
that's
like
the
that.
next film.
Exactly. Right? I'm like, I'm gonna have to unpack that question. That's a good question that I have to unpack. But I think it definitely had the kind of impact, but it's like two things. Yes, he never did, I don't think he ever did anything like that again, but also it was a little bit traumatizing for him, right? Because we were all in the house when he was when the corporal punishment happened. So we all heard it. And then what he actually said was, um, it hurt him more to burn his comic books than to get the whipping or the beating. It hurt him way more. So I found that to be interesting too. So it was like really harsh punishment because it's a dual punishment.
Right.
And you know, yeah, that was some harsh punishment. Yeah.
No, I know this film has screened at over 50 festivals. We've been to a number of them and had talkbacks with it. Can you talk a little bit about the audience response to it, especially culturally? How they responded to it, maybe a white audience or a black audience or a different kind of audience. Can you give us a little bit of their feedback and response to this?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a couple of personal responses that one that happens a lot, and then every now and then, and one that happened in Cleveland right after we screened. So in Cleveland there was this older white gentleman. He said he lives out in, I guess, the mountains or somewhere. He lives and he said and he said, "Hey, I saw the film. I really liked it." He like works. He seems like a lumberjack type of dude who works in the woods or something, right? So I was really interested in his opinion because it's like a very different culture, right? He goes, "I just wanted to let you know, I really, really related to the film." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad." And I was like, "What really impacted you?" And he said, "Well, first of all, I mean, I stole comic books when I was a kid." And I was like, that is not what I thought I was gonna hear. I thought he was gonna say, "Yeah, we had corporal punishment and I whatever," but he was like, "Yeah, I stole comic books as a kid as well, so I totally related to your brother." I was a fan of comic books. We didn't have a lot of money, and you know, and so it was. He said, "But I didn't, that never happened to me, and him getting caught didn't wasn't kind of the same thing. It was he was dealt with in a different way, I should say, but that was interesting." And he's not the only person who has said that, by the way. I was like, you little guys were out there just you comic book fans. No, I'm just kidding. But and then the other one that I really that a lot of people, and that's women, men, black, white, older people were saying is they really loved that we showed the reaction of the father after the whipping, because they said they rarely do we get to see men be that vulnerable, but especially black men being vulnerable like that on screen. And so it was really refreshing and moving to see the aftermath, because we do hear, your parents say this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you, right? When we all heard that if we, got, corporally punished, I should say. And so to actually see that it did impact the father and hurt him in that way, a lot of people really responded to that. And it was really moving when older Black men came to me and said that that really affected them, and they really loved that moment because they could relate to it, and it was great to see it on screen. So that was another moment. And then the woods. Everyone was scared about the woods. They're like, "Oh my God, I thought something was gonna happen to her." And the moment he made the decision to go in the woods, everyone they were like, "Oh, don't do." So so those were some of the moments that people really um responded to.
You mentioned, the corporal punishment and the burning of comic books that
Yeah.
had an impact. But another impact this film had in terms of correcting behavior of your brother is this became like a community knowledge, and the shame that this happened around other family members and friends, and they know about what's happening too, and how does he face them again? So
Yeah.
that shame as well too is
Yeah.
part of the correction that your father wanted to happen as well
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah, that's definitely, because obviously my father was also going through a certain amount of shame and disappointment and fear for him and fear for his life and what would happen if he ever made that kind of choice again and or if he just didn't correct the behavior, as you say. But yeah, it was the shame. I wonder to this day, I kind of wonder if it uh, made my brother a little bit more uh, of a uh, not a loner around family, but just a little bit more of an introvert around certain family members, just because of, you know, because they knew that that had happened, and so
Exactly, and that can really impact a child because even though they're not family members are saying something to him, he knows that they know what happened. And
right,
uh, Tamika, this has just been a really good conversation. There's just so much we could talk about. This being a period piece, the child murders, doing going on at that time, and it's just so much that you can delve into. And I'm hoping that educators watching this can explore other things as well, too. The dynamics between brother and sister, and not snitching, and
yeah.
so forth. There's just so much. This film just brings out so much.
Yeah, and I do want to, since you mentioned it, give a shout out to my production design team because when you're doing a period piece, it can cost a lot of money. It's so hard to get it right. And we were able to bring on an incredible production designer, Jessica Pinkstone. She works in commercials a lot, so she was able to really support the design. She got the police car, and she really was able to make it look like the 70s, her and the hair and makeup and wardrobe, without uh uh without breaking the bank, I should say. Our makeup lady, Patrice Coleman, is from Cleveland. And then our hair designer, Mandrill Harge, did a great job. And Tamika Jackson, my namesake, did the wardrobe. So they were great. And my cinematographer, who is a Black woman, I have to give her a shout out because we don't have a lot of Black female cinematographers. And all of them help with the look of the film. And just really grateful for their contribution. It was during the double strike, so it was, it was both a challenge and also like a win-win because a lot of people weren't working, and so we were able to bring work to Atlanta and have people come on, but we also were able to get them for a price that they typically wouldn't work for. So we got great people for a bargain.
Exactly. And tell us real quick about the house. How did you secure the house?
One of our producers, my producers, Dominic DeLeon, Carol Shine, and Chris Beal, they were really great and supportive. And Dominic actually sourced the house remotely. So he was looking online at different places. He knew what I wanted. Um, and we were trying to find a house that kind of already had the 70s look inside. So we would have just a tad less production design work to do, and it had to be two stories because he was finding all these wonderful homes, but they were rancher style. And he was like, "You sure you can't do a rancher style?" I was like, "No, it has to be two stories because the whole vision, was really important for me to have him have to come down the stairs and that whole dynamic." And so he found that house and it was always the hero house, meaning as soon as I saw that house, I always knew it was the number one choice. But once we got to Atlanta, we had to, scout the locations. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's the one. I walked in and I was like, this is the one. I walked around and I was like, oh, this is the house. It's like you know immediately. It's almost like if you're looking for your home to live in, you walk in and you get a feeling and this is the one.
So
So,
did you rent a house or was it an Airbnb or?
oh no, it was yeah, this was a house that people use. So this house is used quite often. It was on a listing of homes that you can rent to shoot for films.
Oh,
But
okay.
it was also a home that people live in. So they did live in the house. The people who owned it had a house next door and they had this house as well. So they had dual purposes for the home.
Good, good, very, very good. Appreciate that tidbit of information, behind the scenes look.
Yeah.
We could talk on and on, but we'll allow our students and teachers that are watching to carry on the conversation. Tamika Lamison, so good to have you with us. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, I'm really happy that I was able to bring this to Cleveland and bring it to the screen. I'll say thank my ancestors because I believe my ancestors dictated this film to me. They were my muse this time. So grateful to them, grateful to my brother because he was the source of the story.
Very good. All the best to you.
You too. Bye.
And thank you to our audience for joining us for this important and invigorating conversation. For more information about our upcoming festival, please visit us at clevelandfilm.org. I'm Eric Siler. Thank you.